Hey everybody. So, I got my sweet freaking setup here. I don't use this enough. Shout out to DGD Podcast for making this cool thing for me, this little background for me. I don't use it enough, so I thought I'd use it tonight. Shout out to that guy, actually a Georgia fan, that hooked Sea-Dog up with a cool graphic, and I appreciate it. So, it was a while ago too, and I'm such a mess in my life that I don't even... I don't know. My situation is so crazy. Like, I can't even get a graphic used right. But anyway, that's my issues. So I wanted to talk today about kind of Georgia Tech and where they're at in the halfway point of the midseason. Now I know that it's Boston College week and the kind of off week is over. I spent all last week pretty much laughing at Miami, so that took up a lot of my time. But I decided to go ahead and kind of give my mid-season thoughts on Georgia Tech, and it has been a roller coaster. Literally, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. We start out with a loss against Louisville. Of course, that was heartbreaking and gut-wrenching after being up 28, was it? 28-13 at halftime, and you freaking let them come back and win that, dude. Like, jeez. That was bad. That was bad, okay? Our offense looked amazing in that game. Our defense played great in the second quarter, and prevented them from scoring. And we just did whatever we wanted to offensively in the second quarter. It was an amazing second quarter. I was hyped as hell at halftime. I was stoked, and I was pretty much coming on here saying that I was a genius and that this is what I told you would happen. And I enjoyed it for the half. I really did. But our dumbasses let them come back and freaking win the game against Louisville. Damn it. I mean, that was bad. And I thought, Jalen Keene came out, our starting safety, Jalen Keene, came out, said in the post-game press conference, yeah, we thought we had that win at halftime. We thought we had the game won. And that made sense to me, because how can you dominate, the first half and then not, and then just totally lay an egg in the third quarter? And I thought, okay, well, we better be traumatized from this. It was a good lesson, but, bounce back from it. We better never let this happen again. Well, turns out that it was going to be a recurring issue because, we handled business against South Carolina State the next week, and our defense didn't play great, and that was kind of two bad defensive performances in a row, and that was when I was starting to get worried about our defense not being as good. And, you could kind of tell that it was like not a good sign in the beginning of the in the Louisville game, because we did give up, 38 points to them. So obviously our defense didn't come out and look as good as it did. There were a lot of bad signs in the Louisville game, but the South Carolina State game really concerned me too. And as far as the defense, it was making me mad. But then we, come out against Ole Miss. They kind of controlled the game most of the game. I don't think the final score really reflects how close that game was. And we were in it in the fourth quarter, and then we went for it on fourth down at one point with maybe 4 minutes to go to kind of keep the game alive. And if we got it, the game was going to be really close, and if we didn't, then the game was over, and it didn't work. So we turned the ball over in our kind of field, and then they had great field position, scored, and the game was over at that point. It was garbage time. So at this point, I was still hopeful. I was concerned about our defense, but our offense had played great 3 games in a row. It was incredible. And then, of course, we come out and get the much-needed win on the road at Wake Forest. Play great on the road for whatever reason, and it was at night, and that was great. So, the Wake Forest win was amazing, and it was much needed. And we kind of proved ourselves against an ACC team, got our first conference win, and things were looking good. Now our defense, it was still concerning, okay, because we let them come back too. We had a commanding lead in the first half. We dominated them. It was like 20-6 or something like that going into halftime. And we messed around yet again in the third quarter. It had been evident for 3 games at this point. The offense, for whatever reason, would no-show the third quarter and then halfway through the fourth quarter. Then when it came crunch time, the offense would show back up and start scoring again. Now, my thought kind of with this was that it was halftime adjustments, and our staff probably not being as good at halftime adjustments as the other team. We kind of seen this when we went back to last year, and it seemed like every game we went into last year, we had the game plan, and then anything that deviated from the game plan, either the game plan worked or it didn't. But we were coming into that game, that was our game plan, and that was what it was going to be throughout the whole game. And if it didn't work, then we weren't going to change anything. And that was kind of what it was last year. And I understand that, when you're the interim coach and you have a staff that's not yours, you have players that aren't yours, I understand that, but it's carried over into this year, which is concerning to me. It is. Like, for example, blowing leads isn't something that we did, started doing this year. We did it last year against Duke too. Wound up winning that game but it took overtime, and we dominated them. We dominated Duke just like we did with Louisville for most of the game, and then we let them come back and let them claw their way back, and we had to make an insane overtime effort to win, and they missed a field goal, and we wound up winning. So that was, the kind of groundwork was laid from it last year, and another thing that carried over from last year is the inconsistency. The inconsistency carried over to we got this awesome win on the road against undefeated at the time ranked, or not, they weren't ranked, but they were undefeated Wake Forest, and we went on the road and beat them and got the win and knocked them off. And then we come back home the next week, and in the tragedy, freaking not only lose, but get dominated and blown out against Bowling Green. One of the worst losses in Tech history, up there among Jeff Collins' worst losses. Honestly, worse to me, because you expect it from Jeff Collins. You don't expect it from these guys. We're more talented than them, better coached, and we totally laid an egg. And there's no other explanation. No other explanation other than that we weren't in the game mentally. Whether it was looking over them, or we spent the week studying or something, or focused on something else, it was a total no-show from every position group. The O-line, which had been playing great all year, hadn't allowed any sacks. They were getting pushed around. Haynes King was making terrible decisions, and he had looked great up until that year. He was making bad decisions, throwing horrible picks. It was bad. And the offense was unrecognizable from what we had seen against the first 4 games. The offense had played great the first 4 games, despite the third quarter, fourth quarter meltdown. But we didn't lose those games because the offense wasn't playing right. We were losing those games because the defense was not pulling their weight. But everyone no-showed in the Bowling Green game. It was a complete epic failure in every facet of the game, and it was a huge blow to my trust in the team. I never thought it in a million years possible to freaking lose to the Bowling Green, let alone get blown out. It would have been bad enough if the game was close, but to get blown out, just completely off my radar of any possibility of that happening. The team was unrecognizable from the team that I had watched throughout the first 4 weeks. I don't know what happened to them. And I'm going to be honest, the Miami win was fun and great and everything, and I've been able to point and laugh at Miami for 2 weeks now. It doesn't make up for the Bowling Green loss. And look, the offense now, I talk about inconsistent. Well, they've been consistently bad for 2 games now. Played terrible in the Bowling Green game and played terrible in the Miami game. The offense could not do anything against Miami. It was bad. And we have to be able to, and we got to be able to be consistent. It's like that is our biggest issue, and it seems like this team reminds me of like 2021 North Carolina. Like they would lose one, win one, lose one, win one, get blown out by a bad team, then go beat a really good team. They were completely just bipolar and hot and cold, and it was it was a roller coaster. And that's what Tech is this year. They're just like that team. Now that team wound up making a bowl, so I'll get to the bowl talk in a minute. But yeah, that does concern me. The offense has played two weeks in a row badly now. The defense won us the Miami game. However, of course, we did wind up, demoting Andrew Thacker. That defensive performance against Bowling Green was so atrocious that Brent Key had to make the move and demote Andrew Thacker, which is not a move that you see often. He had to demote him to safeties coach and promote the linebackers coach, Kevin Scherer, to DC. So they come out against Miami, and a lot of people are impressed by the defensive performance against Miami. Now, I'm not convinced. Because a lot of people are like, "Wow, this is great." Kevin Scherer comes in, our defense is looking great. We're off to the races now. This is what we needed. We needed Andrew Thacker to move. Kevin Scherer is the truth. Well, come to light, me and Rec Talk discovered this. Miami was tipping their plays based on what the running back was doing it, so we had the jump on them all night. Depending on where the Miami running back lined up, if he lined up to the side of the quarterback or close to him, then it was a pass. And then if he lined up a couple yards back, it was a run every time. About 95% of the time, you could tell what they were going to do, whether it was a pass or run, based on where the running back lined up. And we picked up on this, and props for us for picking up on it. But that's Bush League stuff. That is like Pee-wee level football stuff. Like, this is Division I college football, and you've got your running back tipping off whether you're going to run or pass based on where he lines up. That is unbelievable. Have you guys seen anything like this before? It makes me seriously question. These football coaches fancy themselves as like, we could talk circles around you of football knowledge and everything. How do you overlook something like this? I mean, it in my opinion, it takes a lot away from the defensive performance. It's not that impressive if you can defend well against a team. You know exactly what they're going to do every play. Props on you for picking it up, but it seems like it wouldn't be that hard to. It seems like. So, I don't know. It really takes a lot away from the win in my eyes. Maybe I'm being pessimistic. After that Bowling Green loss, I'm pretty traumatized, and I'm trying not to get my expectations up when it comes to this football team. And that's what that's the attitude I'm going to have to take for my own mental stability. I can't take this freaking team, this up and down and everything. I just can't get excited and stoked and everything on it. And we get this amazing win, and then I find this news comes to light about the Miami offense tipping tipping their freaking plays. And how am I supposed to have any faith after that? It's like, well, there goes that explains why our defense was so good out of nowhere. No, it's not because we freaking fired the D coordinator. It's because we have this. It's because we knew what plays they were going to run. So I haven't had a chance to talk about that. Thought I'd mention it here. It does take a lot from the Miami loss for me. And going forward, I probably expect to see. I would expect to see more of the defensive performance that we saw before that versus what we saw against Miami. To be honest, we haven't turned a corner with the defense, in my opinion. That's that. I mean, just based on the Miami game and how that went down, it doesn't seem to me like, we've arrived on defense. As much as I hate to say it, I would love for that to be solely responsible, but just based on what I've seen, I've got to steel my expectations. For my own mental health, I've got to stop getting so invested into this success of this team because it's killing me. It's taking years off my life. That Bowling Green game scarred me emotionally, permanently. So, look, going forward, okay, I can't predict at all what team is going to show up on a week-to-week basis. If I had to guess, I'd say we win at least 2 more games. We're either going to go 5-7 or 6-6. 7-5, I think is unlikely. I would say, but it will be in the 5-7 win range, which is disappointing to me. I thought we would be a better football team than this. I'm going to be honest. I am disappointed with where we are as a team. I thought it would be better. Maybe it's my own fault. Some Tech fans expected us to be at 3-3. At this point in the season, I think I had us 3-3. No, I had us 4-2. We should be 4-2, but it is what it is. I am disappointed with the wishy-washy nature of the team. I think the mental issues with this team and being inconsistent, that's a mental thing. Being inconsistent is such a mental thing. I hope Key can get it fixed. I'm trying to figure out what it could be. I'm thinking maybe it's because he's got to kind of get his own guys in there and kind of start the process of weeding out the holdovers from the previous regime. That's kind of my thought on it. I kind of hearken back to Texas when Steve Sarkisian got to Texas. He had to change the culture in the locker room, and he had to kind of get guys in there that had the right attitude and the mindset. And I don't think that we do have that now. Clearly, these guys aren't. A lot of these guys aren't having the right mindset, and that's why we're so inconsistent. So that's kind of what I chalked it up to. Let me know what you think. I mean, I've tried my best. Look, I have an intimate knowledge of this team, and I'm throwing in the towel when it comes to predicting. I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going to happen next. Don't bet on this team would be my advice, because you never know what you're going to get. What we got Boston College next week. I'm going to preview that game, not in this video, but what team's going to show up? I have no idea. Best I could do and get on here and give several scenarios of what I think could happen. That's the best I can do, because I can't come up with one. Well, we should dominate that game. We got the talent coaching to, but who knows if we're gonna have a good effort. We don't play good at home. We don't play good during the day. We only play good on the road at night against ranked teams. It's like so. So that's the gist of it. This team is very wishy-washy, very much a roller coaster, and I'm not going to be able to tell what's coming next. So that's kind of my mid-season report. Definitely disappointed in the progress that we made so far. I thought we'd be further along. Can we get to a bowl? We can. I hope so. we got to get 3 games. We've got Boston College, Virginia, and Syracuse as our quote-unquote easy games, and then our hard games are North Carolina, Clemson, and Georgia. So that's 3 easy games, 3 hard games. And so either we take care of business. Look, I can basically guarantee you something like I can basically guarantee we're going to be inconsistent. I think that if we were to make a bowl, I see us going 1-1 against like Virginia and Boston College, like dropping one of those games, but beating Clemson or North Carolina. I could totally see something like that happening based on what I've seen from this team during the season. It makes no sense, but we do seem to have North Carolina and Clemson's numbers. We always seem to play them close, so who knows? And then we always seem to like lose to Virginia. So your guess is as good as mine. I've done my best. Sorry to be a downer, but like I said, I'm traumatized after that Bowling Green loss, and I'm trying not to get myself too excited. Now, of course, Saturday's going to come. I'm going to hoop and holler and freak out, cheer on my Jackets like I always do. And win, lose, or tie, I'm a Yellow Jacket till I die. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Go Jackets, and I will see you next time.